1543 AD, year 13 of the reign of King Tabinshweti. Our conquest of Lower Burma has brought fear to the Shan warlords. They call upon their allies, the Kingdom of Ava and the mighty Rakhine people, to raise armies against us. My king and I march north to Upper Burma, following the pilgrimage trail to Pagan, city of 10,000 temples. From this city, the ancient kings of Pagan once ruled over a united Burmese people. If my king is to rule all of Burma, he must be crowned in Pagan. I will march ahead of my king to secure the ancient city and prepare for the coronation. With my help and the blessings of the Nats, my brother will fulfill his prophesied destiny. Our kingdom is mighty under King Tabinshweti. The greatest monks, warriors, and administrators in all of Burma come to our court. The king has made me his chief minister, but I worry for my brother. A man from distant Portugal has stumbled into the court and intrigued the king with his foreign ways and bottles of strong wine. I fear that the blessed path that we have walked together will come to a cursed end. 1550 AD, year 20 of the reign of King Tabinshweti. I am the chief minister of a kingdom without a king. The man from Portugal has corrupted King Tabinshweti. My lord has taken to drinking and forgotten both the ways of Buddhism and the blessings of the Nats. He leaves with the foreigner for weeks at a time on long, wine-filled hunting trips. Even when he is in court, the king orders executions in drunken fits. Many of the kingdom's officials have pleaded with me to depose the king and rule Burma justly. But though I love my country, I cannot betray my brother. I should have known rebellion would come. A monk named Ta, brother of the dead Hantawadi king, incites a revolt in the south. The king is leaving on yet another hunting trip, but he has ordered me to take the army to defeat this rebel. I will follow my king's instructions, but I am concerned. A minister named Sartat is eager to see me leave. I do not know what trouble he has brewing. Sartat paid 2 swordsmen of the king's bodyguard to enter my brother's tent as he slept, their pockets heavy with the traitor's gold. They drew their swords and beheaded my brother. His body was found by a monk and quietly cremated. I would throw away this crown if it brought my brother back, but he is among the Nats now. The Nats were tricky, just as my mother told me. They took my brother from me. I should not be king. I should not be the Chakravarti. But the Nats made it so. I reject them. 1563 AD, year 13 of the reign of Banyang, king of Burma. The tiger rules the forest, but he is always hungry. It is the same with me as I look to the Thai kingdoms of the East. I have ruled for 13 years, but how am I the Chakravarti if I am only king of Burma? Ayutthaya is the strongest of the Thai kingdoms. Her king, Chakravat, has defied me for too long. He encourages the rebellion of one of my vassals, the king of Lan Na. Even now, he sends his daughter to marry the ruler of the kingdom of Lan Shan. in exchange for an alliance against me. But these schemes alone do not drive me to war. I know that Chakrafat has 7 white elephants, a symbol of luck and divine favor. Already I hear the murmurs in the court. People with more spirit than sense whisper that if I truly am the Chakravarti, why would the Nats have blessed Chakrafat with the elephants? I cannot allow this Thai king, nor the Nats themselves, to defy me. I will send my armies east, but they will not just bring war. I will send Buddhist monks with them to carry the word of my blessed Buddhist rule. I have conquered my enemies and made them bow before me. I have purged the land of the Nats, building stupas and monasteries where once the spirits ruled. I am the conqueror of the 10 directions. I am master of all between the foothills of Tibet and the waters of Malacca, between the plains of India and the mountain jungle of Vietnam. The kings of Sri Lanka and Portugal send me gifts from across the ocean. The emperors of India and China call me their equal. My life will be written in the legends of 3 nations for centuries. I am Banyang. I am the Chakravarti. 1580 AD, year 30 of the reign of the Chakravarti. Though the tiger grows old, his hunger does not leave him. It grows with age, driving him to fresh hunting grounds and giving him a taste for more dangerous prey. For 30 years, I have ruled Burma and made a dozen kings bow before me. But what will they say of my life? That I ruled by the sword and killed many men? That I, a king, was a slave to my desire? The old tiger is stubborn, but he knows when his hunger has gotten the best of him. My sons lead the army to conquer the Rakhine coast, the gateway to India. They are like their father once, chasing in vain across the earth for their greatest victory. My father did not live to see the conquest of the Rakhine. The doctor claimed the lung sickness took his life. But I know my father. No man who rode a charging elephant into throngs of Shan archers, who stormed the cities of the Thai, or who ruled an empire not seen since the ancient days, would die from a mere cough. No. My father left this world because he chose to. There was only one conquest left, worthy of a man like Banyang. I know legends will be told of him. I know old shamans will tell prophecies. But no deed would match his final act. Greater in battle than the man who would conquer 1,000 men is he who would conquer just one, himself.
Before you can lead an army into battle, you must first learn the 9 principles of the art of war, written by the famous warrior and philosopher Sun Tzu. His teachings come to us from ancient books, and his infinite wisdom about warfare and military tactics still apply to this day. I will guide you and teach you these most important lessons, Commander. Listen very well. Sun Tzu teaches us not only how to engage our enemies, but also how to manage logistics. An army cannot fight without the proper supplies. Without food, arrows, and arms, an army cannot stand its ground. In the words of Sun Tzu, bring war material with you from home, but forage in enemy territory. Then the army will have enough food to survive. Let us see if you understand this advice. You are not the only one who will be raiding. Your opponent will not hesitate to attack you when and where you are weakest. Therefore, you must use your skills to defend your people and train your peasants to defend themselves. Hence, that general is skillful in attack whose opponent does not know what to defend, and he is skillful in defense whose opponent does not know what to attack. Sun Tzu wrote, "Show strength where you are weak. Wherever the enemy attacks, show him that you are ready to repel his soldiers. Be ready and prepared, Commander, because now it is up to you." A good commander must learn to be decisive in war. Hesitation or mistakes can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Just as a soldier practices his spear thrusts, so too must a commander learn to be efficient and repeat tasks until he knows them by heart. Sun Tzu says, "A clever fighter wins his battles by making no mistakes." Making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. Few generals make it this far. Let us see if you are one of them. As your army grows, so do your responsibilities. Not only must you look after your soldiers, but also after their families. It is of great importance that your people are fed, that your population grows, and that your towns increase in size. Sun Tzu says, "The command of a large force is the same principle as the command of a few men. It is merely a question of dividing up their numbers." An army is only as strong as the economy that supports it. A large army requires a large population and a surplus of food, gold, and other resources. Show me that you understand this important lesson. A commander goes to war with the army that he has, and must think of how to get the most out of it. Your opponent may seem stronger at first glance, but a sly general does not worry. He studies the enemy and the terrain, and knows how to use his soldiers to maximum effect. Sun Tzu says, "The good fighters of old put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, and then waited for an opportunity to defeat the enemy." Did you understand what this advice should tell you? Good! Then it is time to send your troops into battle, and do not forget to always keep a level head. You may encounter adversaries that do not have the courage to face you on the field. It can be expected that some of your rivals will prefer to hide behind the walls of their strongholds. Besieging an enemy castle is an art of its own that every able general must master. Sun Tzu says, "A warlike prince carries out his own secret designs, keeping his antagonists in awe. Then he is able to capture their cities and overthrow their kingdoms." Now is the time to familiarize yourself with the construction and usage of siege equipment. Will you be able to bring down the walls of your opponent? Sun Tzu stresses balance, but a commander will not always have his 2 feet on solid ground. Sometimes he must set sail to achieve victory. Rivers must be navigated to open new trade routes, and oceans must be crossed to make new discoveries. But what if your opponent also has brought ships to sea? Sun Tzu teaches us, the onrush of a conquering force is like the bursting of pent-up waters into a chasm 1,000 fathoms deep. You are not water-shy, are you? Good. The captains of your fleet are awaiting your orders. The most important thing for an army is discipline. A disciplined army can be vastly outnumbered, but still seize victory. A disciplined army can hold their ground, move around the battlefield quickly, and, if necessary, retreat in an orderly fashion. When fielding your army, Sun Tzu says, whether to concentrate or to divide your troops must be decided by circumstances. Use fast forces against slow ones. Use feigned retreats to lure your enemies into ambushes, and split your army to flank your enemy. This is what Sun Tzu teaches us. Do you understand this lesson? If so, take command of your army and show me that you do. Excellent! You have mastered every lesson that I had to teach. Remember the words of Sun Tzu and his teachings about the art of war, and you will win many battles. Or in the words of the wise philosopher warrior, if you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles.
The kingdom of Dai Viet is no more. A storm came from the north and plunged the land into darkness. Torn apart by civil war, the kingdom drew the hungry eyes of the Ming Emperor. He sent an immense force armed with weapons of fire and smoke to conquer Dai Viet. The Vietnamese people stood no chance against such a menace. Foreign soldiers entered the villages and occupied the land. While the Vietnamese aristocracy collaborated and prospered, the common people suffered. The invaders imposed harsh taxes on the people and destroyed many of the holy places. The Vietnamese needed a hero, and that hero was Le Loi. Although the son of a nobleman himself, Le Loi despised the aristocracy who had sided with the enemy. When the Chinese came, he fled north to the lands of his family. There in the hills, he was outside the reach of the Chinese while he organized the resistance. Vastly outnumbered by the large Ming army, Le Loi knew he could not defeat them in open battle, so he turned to guerrilla warfare. He raided Ming camps to steal supplies and gave them to the starving farmers. Le Loi's resistance could only succeed through planting the seeds of rebellion in his people. The resistance began slowly and with only minor successes, but Le Loi's reputation grew each day. The people started calling him the peacemaking king and wanted to see him on the throne of the old kingdom. The Ming heard rumors of this rebel king and vowed to crush him before his seeds of rebellion could take root. Disaster struck the Vietnamese rebels when the Ming defeated them in battle and forced them to retreat to the Chi Lin mountain fortress. Encircled by a large Chinese army, and with no hope of help from the outside, Le Loi's situation became grim. Supplies would not last long, and the Ming cannons had already begun to batter the old walls of the fortress. The end of Le Loi and his rebellion seemed imminent. Just as defeat seemed inevitable, Le Loi's second-in-command, Le Lai, and his men sacrificed their lives to save what was left of the Vietnamese rebellion. They mounted their horses and led a final charge right into the Ming besiegers. In the ensuing confusion, Le Loi and the rest of the army escaped through the fortress drainage system. One witness who saw the charge said that he saw the spirits of the Vietnamese ancestors riding along Le Lai and his men as they plunged into the lines of Ming pikes. It was a sad day for Le Loi and the Vietnamese. They had lost much, and all that remained of the resistance was smoldering ashes and dead bodies. However, the tale of Chi Lin spread throughout Vietnam and lit the spark of resistance. The Vietnamese people were no longer willing to tolerate the Ming occupation.